Alternative Facts Chicago.
Chicago's #1 podcast.
Chicago. The city of Chicago. Alternative Facts Chicago.
Chicago's #1 podcast.
Our favorite city.
Audio Stalker production.
The city of Chicago. This is episode 73 of Alternative Facts Chicago. It's a big episode. This is B.Hun with my homie Cait back again. How are you today?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's been a busy week. We have a ton of big, kind of like some heavy things to talk about today.
Yes.
I've been
Serious
excited to get on. It's a little serious, might be a little more serious episode, but I am glad after all these years, some of these topics are being talked about. So we definitely got a lot to cover. I have been excited to get on and talk about it. It's been a few days. I've been trying to not post as much on social media, leave my comments for the episode today, but I think we're on what we're going to dive into, but I think it's important. And I'm curious. I haven't talked to you much about what we're talking about today, so I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts on all these things going on.
Cool.
So before we get into that, I know it's a lot. It's actually been a busy day, but glad to be back. 73 episodes in. Before we get into it, though, how about we plug social media?
Yeah, make sure you're following the podcast on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Alternative Facts Chicago, and then on Twitter at @AFactsChicago. Of course, you can find me on Instagram as Cait, C-A-I-T, no Jenner, and on Twitter as Cait Hassett.
Awesome. And then you can find me at B.Hun1984. That is on Twitter as well. You can email us at alternativefactschicago@gmail.com. We are hosted on iTunes as well as Spotify at Alternative Facts Chicago. You can always find us on Google Play, SoundCloud, Podbean as well. We are all over the place, any and everywhere you can find us. So thank you all for the support, and for the listeners, we do this all for you. Now, before we get into our topics, we got a Bacchus Entertainment bar crawl coming up. Give us some details on that.
Yeah, it's their first one, Flapjacks and Flannels, and it's going down in the Wrigley area. So kind of both of our hometown places. And so it's going to be a lot of bars that you like to go to. And it's going to be more of an intimate bar setting. So not like one of the big crazy ones where you can't get a drink and you can't even hang out. It's going to be way more
Right.
fun than that. Plus it's going to have brunch, Flapjacks and Flannels. You can't go wrong with that. So tickets are still on sale for that. It's January 26th, so it's slowly approaching. And I actually just saw on their social media, if you follow them, that's Bacchus Entertainment, BACCHUS. They are giving away some free tickets right now with a donation towards some charitable causes. So an easy way to do a good thing and get into a bar crawl for free. Make sure you check that out. And then we've posted the links also, and we'll have some tickets to give away next week. So listen up for that.
Absolutely. So it's a good time of the year, end of January. Everyone's kind of rested, recovered from the holidays, from the new year, got back to work. What way to end January with a dope bar crawl? So the good people, Bacchus Entertainment, I think they're only doing 3 bars, so it's going to be smaller. It's going to be intimate. They got a brunch. I think they're going to have an after party. Right, who needs an after party at the end of a bar crawl?
Everybody.
Yes. So they're going to have an after party. I think it's going to be at John Barleycorn that day. So Saturday, January 26th, make sure you come out, support us, support them. It'll be a fun, dope event, and we can't wait.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Next, we got to get into quickly our fan of the week. I am excited to give this person the fan of the week. It is Miles from MC Variety Hour. You can find her on Twitter at MC Variety Hour. She also has a podcast. You can find her on it as well. She is hilarious. Make sure you check out her podcast. She listens to our episode each and every week. She leaves us comments on our SoundCloud. She'll post about it on Twitter, leave us comments. So we really appreciate that. We like when people are engaging, like to give us follow-up and feedback. And she's been listening to the show since the very beginning. And I don't think she's ever gotten fan of the week yet. So shout out to Miles. I know she's going to hear this. We love you. You can find her on her social media on Twitter at C Variety Hour, all one word. So we appreciate you, Miles. Keep listening to the show. We definitely want your feedback on this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you got for her?
I don't know her. Thanks, Miles.
Funny thing is, I've never actually met her personally, but she is awesome. She always comments on our page. I definitely want to meet her sometime. I know she lives somewhere in Ohio, but she's been a fan of our show since the very beginning. So can't wait to meet her. We need to set up like some type of like podcast event where we can meet some of the other podcast hosts from other states.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
There's a lot out there, but maybe something will work out for a little bit later this year. Now let's get into this. I know we got a lot to talk about. I've been waiting to get your thoughts on this, so you can go for it. Intro it. I got a lot to say.
Okay, I don't even know. Like, how do you? Okay, yeah. Let's just. I don't even know how to intro this. This is like. Okay, yeah, we gotta talk about R.Kelly. Let's just be honest. Yep. So obviously everybody knows that the Lifetime docuseries called Surviving R.Kelly premiered last week on Lifetime. And it's 6 episodes. I know I have not personally finished it. It's a lot, and it's a lot of it's kind of just hard to watch in general anyway, but you know, long before the Me Too movement even started, R. Kelly was hiding in plain sight. We've known that he's been guilty of these sex crimes for years and years and years, and somehow it's just been pushed under the rug. But this docuseries really has just brought the accusers to the surface. And not only just the accusers, but like the confidants, people on his team. And it's given like a comprehensive look at his life and everything that went on. And just like the sickening things that have gone on in R. Kelly's studio here in Chicago, and then also in his other home in Atlanta. I mean, back from like when the sex tape emerged in the early 2000s, where he's like urinating in the mouth of an alleged minor.
Disgusting.
Yes, we know that he's been carrying out romantic relationships his entire life, like including Aaliyah, who, you know, was his protege, but she was just 15. Right. He was 27 when they got married. Interestingly enough, you know, because her first album was called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. So, lots of cues pointing back to it. But despite like all the revelations in this whole docuseries and things that we know that are coming to light, I think the most like important question to ask is like, how has this all gone unnoticed for so long? Well, not unnoticed, but untaken care of.
Untaken care of. That's a good way to
I don't know. I don't know how else to put it. Like untaken care of.
I think that what I've come to learn over the past week is that the generation from, you know, the 90s and early 2000s, which is a terrible thing to say, but it seemed like it was a generation that seemed to overlook and seemed to be okay with older men being with or having relationships with younger women, is what I've come to learn, because people on social media have tried to flip this, you know, off of R. Kelly and say, oh, okay, well, what about Jay-Z and trying to get with Beyonce so long, or like Jay-Z and Foxy Brown when she was young, and how young Lil' Kim was, you know, she was 16 years old. And me being young at the time, I had absolutely no idea or didn't really even think that it was a problem, because it seemed so customary. It seemed so okay. So it seemed like back then everyone just completely overlooked it. And what I'm glad about now in 2019 is we're having these tough conversations. We're having these tough dialogues. And I've talked to people on social media, in group chats, and it's weird. Some people necessarily don't want to talk about it because they're like, why are we so worried about R. Kelly? Like, why are we so worried about this topic when there's so many other things in the world going on? And my mind is, what else in the world is going on that we need to talk about? Is it sports? Is it what? Like, when are we actually going to sit down and finally have these conversations? So generations further from now, you won't necessarily have these creeps. So we can pick these creeps out in advance. Or they know if you do these types of things, you're going to get caught and you're not going to be able to get away with it for 15 years. And the reason I'm so passionate about a topic like this, I'm glad it's being talked about. I have a daughter that is 8 years old. In 6 more years, she's going to be 14 years old. Just hypothetically speaking, it could have been something like her way back when that could have been involved in R. Kelly, and I could have been in the middle of this or had no idea, just hypothetically speaking. Or it could be some other creep, you know, in 6 years from now that's trying to be a predator or a prey on her to put her in these situations. So now it's in the forefront. Now we're talking about these things, and I'm glad that it's happening. And I'm glad that people are still talking about it a week or two later. It's getting dialogue going. It's kind of opening up the talk of why these things are not good and why these things shouldn't be happening. So I'm glad it's happening, whether people think there's something bigger or better to talk about. I think in 2019 and even last year, all these topics are being talked about more often, and it's getting people out of their comfort zone and figuring out ways to prevent these in the future. So I'm all for it. Sorry, R. Kelly. You got to go. I'm not listening to him anymore. He's officially canceled.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought up that it's generational. And that's really what we're seeing through this docuseries and through all the things that are coming out, is that it is a generational issue. So like what we know about R. Kelly, it's like people in Chicago knew because it was here in Chicago. People knew that he was going to Kenwood Academy, hanging out with old teachers, mentoring young women and then screwing them. Like, we knew this about him. We knew that he had sex tape with minors. We knew that he preyed on individuals that he, quote unquote, mentored, who found themselves going to him because he was this public figure and he was a Chicago hero and he was a Black hero, right? So we understand why women, even young women, were attracted to him. And I think that in past generations, it has been acceptable for younger women to go with older men. It has been acceptable. I know when I was in high school, I was looking at college guys, you know what I mean? And even though it was not right, we didn't think of them as statutory rapists or predators because we were right on the brink of age. But the older generations, they did. Like, it was, before there were laws, it was much more acceptable to date men who were much older. And so that old school mentality has just really continued to put like the rape culture within, like, to ingrain the United States with the rape culture.
Absolutely.
And we also know it's generational because R. Kelly was sexually abused. And he even said in like a 2016 interview at GQ, when he talked about his female family member that's abused him. I saw some accusations that it was like a sister. I saw some other stuff that it was a cousin, but he was abused sexually from a young age by an older woman. And we know that generationally that puts you into a cycle of abuse. We know that young people that are abused have a larger chance of going on to being abused. We know that they go on to be more sexually promiscuous. We know these things about them. And so he literally just continued this whole cycle of abuse and helped to continue rape culture, where not only he was hurting young women who, some of them might continue to hurt young people because this has been ingrained in them so young, but also we don't believe victims. We know this. We know this from the Brett Kavanaugh cases. We know this from the Bill Cosby case. We know that people don't believe victims, particularly young women, because we want to say that they're fast or they're easy or they were asking for it. So we're just perpetuating the circle of abuse right now. And by covering it up, we've just let it go on for so long.
Well said. And I'm glad that you mentioned, A, of course, yes, that it was a generational thing. And B, the biggest part is that even though these girls, the 14, 15-year-olds, may have been okay with hooking up with R. Kelly at the time before they realized this isn't okay, even though they might have been accepting of it, it's still rape. And for those that are trying to say it's not rape because there was consent and they were cool with it, an older man taking advantage of a younger woman, even if it's a younger male. Like, I've known guys like back when I was in high school, 13, 14-year-olds, they would, high school, come telling me stories, they hooked up with a 21, 22-year-old. They may not have thought or seen it that way. At the end of the day, it is rape. You're still a kid, 14-year-old. You're still a kid.
Absolutely.
You can't necessarily be making the right choices for yourself. So for those that unfortunately are trying to say it's not rape because they were cool with it, they were knowing what they're doing, I think you just have it a little mixed up. It still is rape, whether they consented, tied to the bed and forced to do it or not. It's all the same. It's just not okay. So I'm glad, like I said, I'm very, very glad that these things are happening. It is very unfortunate to all the women that are affected. And I honestly didn't know how serious the situation was or how bad it was. Like I said, we saw the P video way back when, or we heard some of the stories that, he had, people locked up like sex slaves in houses. But to see visually the firsthand stories, the women in pain, the crying and all that.
The women,
that really opened my
the
eyes.
mothers going into hotels schools trying to get their children out.
Yes. That's different.
Yes.
Like, I didn't know. I think that's why a lot of people overlooked it for so long. We couldn't really know the true pain that it caused these people. Like, these people are scarred for life. Like, some couldn't even get through the interviews, through the discussions, because it is so hurtful. It is so painful. And that's where it really opened my eyes to the situation to say, all right, we got to stop. Like, he's done. He's cut off. We can't be supporting someone. He's literally, truly a predator. He has a disease. And the fact that his record sales, his streaming numbers have increased, that's weird. I don't know why it is. People are trying to say that they're trying to go back and digest his lyrics. Maybe, maybe not. It could just be some people supporting him through it all, like saying, okay, we're going to support him. At the end of the day, this dude's about to go to jail. And the fact that I'm very glad that I think just somewhere in Georgia starting to criminally investigate him.
Chicago started it.
They started it. So perfect. So I think if at the end of the day, if this is what's going to cost to finally get him locked up, then this is going to be a successful story. So unfortunately for those trying to say we should be worried about other things, no, we should be worried about this because this guy has gotten away with this for the past 25 years, and it may have taken 25 or so years, but he's finally going to get his just due. I hope all the streaming services take his music off the platform so no one can benefit from these record sales, not even his record label. Shame on his record label, RCA, for still having him employed. They almost got clowned on the week for that. The fact that they haven't dropped him from the label as of yet.
Yes, absolutely. Why is it that we can ban Baby Got Cold or Baby It's Cold Outside at Christmas and we can't ban R.Kelly? That's what I don't understand.
Like why is Bump and Grind still on a streaming service or age? I don't know. It really doesn't make much sense. At the end of the day, I guess people are still out looking to make money. But those that are still supporting him, guys are idiots for that.
Yeah.
Like right and right, wrong is wrong. To try to say you can separate the man from the music, the man was making music about the 14-year-old girl.
Well, so, and even though that we've brought that up a couple times, like 14-year-old, and you even said that your daughter's 8, so this is a couple years down the line. But actually, statistically, we know that that's not what happens, and that pedophiles like this, specifically serial pedophiles like R.Kelly, groom their prey. So actually, he was grooming Aaliyah at the age of, he was grooming young girls at the age of like 8, 9, and 10. Like Sparkles in the documentary, like her daughter, she brought her daughter around R. Kelly at the age of 7. So that's a little closer to home for you. And he grooms them. He builds a rapport with them. You know what I mean? He offers them advice. He offers to be their mentor, and he's literally checking them out at a young age. So if he's not sexually abusing them before they're 18, he's doing it later. Yes, it's absolutely creepy, but we know that they do this. So if you can know that he's looking at girls that are actually much younger than 14, because I hear a lot of defenses that say like, oh, well, Aaliyah was older than her age because she was in the business and they could have really been in love, or the girls were in high school. And even if you're trying to use the those girls were fast mentality, an 8-year-old is not fast. An 8-year-old does not know how to do that. So
I've never looked at an 8-year-old and be like, oh, she's cute. Can't wait till she gets like 18. Right? I can't wait till she's 18 years old.
I certainly hope not, because I would turn you in.
I would hope you would turn me in.
It's freaking disgusting.
That's disgusting. Yes. Yeah, I'm glad that this came to light. I'm glad that I'm curious as to why it took this long for them to even criminally investigate them. And I saw one of the articles saying like the police in Chicago were looking for more people to come bring evidence and testimony. I'm like, shouldn't you have enough evidence or testimony after everything you've seen over the last 25 years? Yeah. Why do you need more evidence or testimony? He should be locked up right now. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to finally happen. I think he's done. And there's other people out there that do this. And I hope they're scared. I hope they know that in 2019, like these things just have to finally stop. It's gross. It's disgusting. And we got to protect our women out there. Like I don't care if it's white, black, Chinese. It happens to all races.
Well, the biggest thing is that we know that it's a sickness. Like we know that it's a sickness. So I just feel like it could have been prevented. You know what I'm saying? Like we let it get so far. We paid people off. We made people sign he made people sign waivers that he wasn't abusing them. You know what I'm saying? He ran this cult and he really like brain warped people, and he did all these terrible things to hide the terrible things that he was doing. And it was like he was literally predispositioned to be sick like this, and it could have been prevented. And instead, he had money and he did whatever he wanted. And he would trick them into saying, "Oh, you can be a music star. I'll get you a record deal. I'll put you on the song." When in reality,
He just wanted to be a sex slave, trick the parents. So he's a genius for being able to pull this off and like trick people into doing it, but it's still a sickness. I hope the parents feel terrible for all of this.
I'm sure they do.
But for those that are really affected, the actual women, whether they wanted to do it or not, I feel sorry for you. You know, prayers go out with you, because I'm sure you're all scarred for life. I'm sure it might have been hard to watch or hard to experience looking back on those times now.
Absolutely.
But hopefully they can start some healing. And we just need to, you know, support them any way you can. And I'm just glad it was disturbing to watch. Like, I didn't watch the last two because I was honestly pretty pissed off watching it, because I felt like bamboozled after all these years. I'm like, dude, R. Kelly's a genius. I love his songs. We were getting tricked for all those years.
Yeah, without a doubt. Absolutely, without a doubt.
So I think we talked about it enough. I don't want this entire episode to be about R. Kelly.
But there is one good article that I'll post on Facebook. I forgot to say that was written by some people at the Chicago Times that have been part of the investigations like the whole time, and it's from like a reporter's perspective. So I'll post it on Facebook, but that's where I got like a lot of my information from, and so as to like why it was covered up and everything. So I'll post that. It's really good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we want to get your thoughts. I know everyone's talked about it on social media. Keep the dialogue and discussion going on whatever platform that you use. Keep talking about it. If it starts to get other people in trouble, then that's fine. But I think just going forward, we got to get these people weeded out. It's gross and disgusting.
Get them help. They need help.
They do need help. They need jail. They need help. I don't care if it's jail, help, whatever, but it's got to stop. So I'm glad that we're finally having this discussion.
Word. Let's move on to something also
even
sad.
Worse.
No, it's not
even
worse. It's not worse.
Our Chicago Bears.
You can't claim them. They're not yours.
They're okay. They're the city's Chicago.
You can't say like when your team's in regular season that, you know, it's your Detroit Lions, and then when they're in the postseason, it's your Chicago Bears. You get one.
I would much rather be the Detroit Lions and not make the playoffs at all, as opposed to having a game you could have won in the playoffs at home, but because of your kicker, who never would go to the stadium to practice, missed a kick, and you lose the game to the Super Bowl champions. Like it's such a Chicago Bears thing to have happened. It's unfortunate.
So we're seeded ninth.
I was unfortunately, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little chuckling inside when that happened.
I know you were. I purposely didn't talk to you. I know you were, because you're a hater.
I was almost going to text you, but I was like, she's probably pissed. I'm going to leave you alone. But you know we were going to talk about it. For those that were living on the rock, Chicago Bears was a really close game against the Super Bowl champ Philadelphia Eagles. It was a home playoff game. The Bears were 12-4 in the regular season. Close game. They drove down to the end. I think they had like a 43-yard field goal on the right hash mark. Before Cody Parkey kicked it, he kicked it one time and he made it right through the uprights. Of course, Philadelphia called timeout. So he had to redo the kick. And of course, when they redid the kick, bounce it, boink, off the left upright. The Chicago Bears lose. Season's over. And I've seen many videos of people like breaking doors, yelling through their phone. I'm sure the city of Chicago was pissed that night. It was
bad.
Hilarious on my end, sad on your end. What's your thoughts? But what was the real reason? Why did the Chicago Bears lose that game? Your thoughts?
Well, you've already taken your stance, obviously. You totally just named Parkey. We're like, I'm not going to name names, but Cody Parkey.
I got more, but let's hear yours first.
It's just so hard. I mean, first of all, it's heartbreaking. It's hard when you're that emotionally invested in a season, because obviously I've been a Chicago fan my whole life, living in Georgia where I couldn't even get the game on regular TV. And so not only did I move here and they were good, I mean, many of us were just surprised that we won 12 games this regular season. And, you know, it's the first time we'd been to the playoffs in years. And it was just, it's going to forever, this season is going to forever go down as being remembered for this game. And that's the most like heartbreaking part of it all, because we had a fantastic season. You know what I mean? We had like a great performance by the quarterback. We had an amazing coach this season, and it's just like, this is what it's all going to come down to. But I will say, just, we can't put the blame solely on Parkey. And if you had asked me earlier in the season, I would have said that it was Parkey's fault, because obviously we saw him. I mean, he was 23 for 30 on field goal attempts this season alone. So obviously not good odds. And I feel like you're a kicker. You have one job. Like, you have one job. Everyone has a job and you have one, and that is to kick the ball through the little stands, and that's it. That's what you do. So, I mean, 76% accuracy rate, that's 28th in the NFL, and we were seated top. So that's like really sad on its own. I mean, obviously when we played Detroit, he bounced 4 kicks.
Right.
So
4.
obviously earlier in the season, I would have said that this was a Parkey problem and nothing else. But I don't feel like it's really fair to put all the blame on Parkey, because the running game, this game was just really bad. I mean, 65 yards on 18 carries. We didn't have Trey Burton. I mean, even like Tariq Cohen only got like 4 touches. Like it wasn't even our game. And so it's easy to place blame on Parkey right now.
You got it.
And say that this is like his last kick in Chicago and blah, 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 but like there was more to that. I don't place blame on just him.
I agree. And I think the biggest part, like that last drive before, if you remember when Philadelphia was driving down, the Bears they had 3 timeouts. They didn't call it.
Right.
I remember at one point they let like 45 seconds go off the clock. Even when they were on like the 2-yard line, Philadelphia, the Bears didn't call a timeout. So I think they had poor clock management in that game.
Absolutely.
Their offense was out of sync. And obviously Philadelphia is Super Bowl champs. It's the playoffs. And I've been trying to tell people all season that no matter what you do in the regular season, the playoffs are a totally different beast. It's a totally different time. There's usually more defense in that game. The pressure's on, and unfortunately, the Chicago Bears offense didn't really live up to the table. Didn't come to play in that game. And regardless, either way, I feel like the next game the Bears were gonna lose. But I was kind of semi hoping for them to win at least one playoff game, because now, like you said, they lost that game, so it made the 12-4 record go for nothing. And now, if you didn't hear hot off the press, the defensive coordinator just took a head coaching job with the Denver Broncos.
Yes.
So after all that, they lose the game. Now the defensive coordinator's gone. So their defense next season, obviously they have their players coming back, but you're going to have a little different look when you have a different defensive coordinator. So things are going to change. And what people need to realize in the NFL, yes, you could be 12-4 one season, but the NFL, pro football, is a sport where you can be great one season and terrible the next. It's not like basketball where you kind of like build up to having a dynasty in a franchise where you got young players. The NFL is such a different beast where things change so much from one year to the next. You could be great one year, suck the next. Just look at the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Absolutely.
Almost made the Super Bowl. They sucked this year. Minnesota Vikings, great last year. Didn't do so well this year. So just to think, this is the beginning of something great here in Chicago, it could possibly be. But there's also a possibility that they may not necessarily be so good next year. So they kind of missed their window of opportunity because the NFC is so wide open. It was terrible. It was unfortunate. But I'm like, of course the Chicago Bears will go ahead and do this. And they're saying the kick got blocked. It may have gotten tipped. Either way, he was not
they
making
called
that
it
kick.
a block, but yeah. Well, yeah.
He wasn't making that.
Just down to the wire. Also, when you just considering that we were up against the defending Super Bowl champions and how much of a lack of playoff experience the whole team had, including the coach. So, I mean, obviously, I feel like we should have won if we had brought in the real Bears team. And that includes Trey Burton. I feel like we had really minimal production from the tight ends, and that loss of Trey Burton hurt us. He was out on injury. And I feel like taking all those things into account, like there was no way we were going to win. And even if we did, there was no way we were going to get past the next round anyway. Like this is not a Super Bowl team. So it's unfortunate and it's heartbreaking. But there was a lot of factors against us.
Right. It was a great season, but it just sucks that it had to go out that way.
And it'll be forever remembered like this. Ever.
Absolutely.
Forever.
And that kicker, and it was cool that Kobe's the man. You know, he gave some words of wisdom over Twitter to Cody Parkey saying, you know, you got to work hard, come back, and win over the graces of the Chicago Bears next season. Newsflash, I highly doubt that Cody Parkey is on the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, he's not.
I don't know about 99%.
He's not coming
sure
back.
They're going to cut him. If they haven't cut him already, he'll probably be cut within the next couple of months. They probably are going to wait a little bit. So I'm sure he's already had a bad week. He's probably getting cut. He probably won't be back.
Yeah.
So if he goes to another team, if he even gets another job, but I think he'll be okay because I'm not going to lie. His wife or girlfriend I saw in a picture with, she's freaking hot. So he'll be okay. And then two, he made the second highest salary this year, all guaranteed for kickers. I think like $3 or $4 million this year guaranteed. So he'll be okay. He'll get over it. But I'm not sure if any team will ever sign him in the NFL.
I think another team will sign him, and I hope to God that he goes and practices at the field.
Right. Like what? Like I was like, it's your job. All you have to do is go kick. Like,
Right.
why?
You have one
I know
job.
traffic's bad in Chicago, but you can drive from the suburbs to go.
But
practice,
also
so.
knowing Chicago and how we do this anyway, how long we kept Jay Cutler, we're probably going to keep him for the duration of his 3-year contract and just like continue to let our fans boo him just like we did to Cutler. So,
Facts. Yeah. And did you hear that Robbie Gold was
yes. It's just like putting salt on the wound, just like haha.
I wonder how I guarantee he was probably sad inside, but deep down, it's probably like that's what you get.
Exactly, yeah.
That's probably how you feel.
Yeah,
so.
the Bears yet again
crazy
defending
stories.
our title as Choke Chicago.
So, well, I've never heard that. Choke
I've said it
Chicago.
before on this podcast.
You know, I don't listen to you sometimes, so it's all good.
Well, you should, because I'm smart. You should listen to me a lot more.
Well, speaking of someone who's not smart, we're going to segue into our man, Donald Trump. So, yeah, so hopefully next week we can like make more jokes. It'll be funny. Like some crazy things will happen because we go from R.Kelly to the Chicago Bears to Donald Trump.
Yeah, so if you missed it, President Trump delivered his first primetime address from the Oval Office on Tuesday, reiterating the crisis at the southern border. If you don't know, he's offered no new policy and no new approach. He did not declare it a national emergency as he had been considering, but instead he measured his statements and facts about the situation at the border that he has said in press conferences before with unscripted remarks. And he said that he's going to continue to shut down the government. So, if you don't know, like Trump shut down the government himself. This was his choice, because he wants $5 billion to build the wall protecting our southern border from Mexico. And the government is only offering him $1.3 billion. So we're on, today is 19 days of government shutdown, which is the second longest in history. And it's just like really important to know, are we in a state of emergency and what's going to happen next?
Well, so I guess, first of all, you think of a government shutdown. If they really wanted a government shutdown, what I always think of a government shutdown, you think like everything's closed, nothing's open, like traffic lights don't work, like everything just shut down. So it's like, it's not really a government shutdown. So I was talking to my coworkers about it today. I was like, everything still works. I feel like it's business as usual. The banks are open. Federal offices are still open. It's like, what's really shut down when you say a government shutdown? Like, what's closed besides people not getting paid? Has anything changed, or are we still just mostly, status quo?
I mean, when this government, the government shuts down at least one day a year, right? And the traffic lights still run, and it's people are still alive. It's not like the purge.
It sounds like when you say like it's just gonna be mass chaos. It's like anything go like the cops don't work, like hospitals are shut down. The cops don't work.
No, it's not like zombie apocalypse, like the episode that's a part of Bird Box where everyone's freaking the F out. Like,
that is
no,
hilarious.
The government shuts down all the time. But what's different is that Trump purposely shut down the government because he didn't get what he wants. He threw a little temper tantrum. He wants X amount of dollars and they're not giving it to him. But yeah, things are not running and people are really being affected by this, really being hurt. Like I saw a whole article of people like telling their stories of how they're being hurt, but like specifically like, like people that, like what you said, people that aren't getting paid, like veterans, people with disabilities, things like that. We're also seeing small businesses being hurt. Our nutritional programs for specifically women and infants, like WIC and Head Start, none of those are running right now. Even like some food safety operations are going to be stalled because they're funded by the government. The CDC can't go through with their flu shot program right now because they're funded by the government. So it's like, maybe we're business as usual. We're still going and doing our things, but there's like big wheels that aren't turning because the government is shut down right now.
That's crazy. So I didn't watch it live last night because I wasn't necessarily caring to watch it live.
I believe you.
I was watching for real. No, I really wasn't. I was watching my guy Cassius Winston from Michigan State tear it up. He's having a great season. But outside of that, for one, so a couple of takeaways that I took away, just from like looking at it from the outside, and kind of seemed like we're really no closer to the government shutdown being over. I think it's still going to go on for at least a little while. And I'm pretty annoyed that every single time Donald Trump like does a speech like that, he always makes it seem like a worldview of how dark the United States is. Like everything's bad, like everything's going so wrong. We have to do this to fix it when the economy's up. Like we have like more jobs than ever. Like he's always speaking to basically like Republicans. You can tell the wavering Republicans that don't really support him that much anymore. He's really speaking to them. He's not really speaking to the entire country.
Absolutely.
He's really just speaking to the Republicans overall, and that everything is just not okay. Obviously the Democrats want to end the shutdown. He is just really focused on building this wall. They're never going to meet in the middle. By the time he actually comes to a conclusion, his 4 years are going to be up. Like the Democrats are just going to keep pushing this out. They're not going to agree with them. By the time it may even come remotely close to happening, we're going to have a new president. Because at this point, I hope people are not that stupid to re-vote him in. But I'm going to see there's no way he's going to get reelected. So it's almost a pointless speech.
Absolutely.
I don't think anything got accomplished. And I think I'm just over him. But we're going to have to keep talking about him because he's going to keep saying the same stupid things. And it's kind of unfortunate that people like necessarily might not get paid for this. That's the sad part about everything. I don't think that's ever happened before, at least not in our lifetime. So hope it gets resolved soon. But from listening to some of the clips from last night, I don't think
I feel like we're just like negotiating with terrorists right now. Like literally, it feels like we're in like Taken, and right. Liam Neeson is like, we're not giving you more money. Like it's just like it's freaking crazy. And if you watched last night, which hopefully some of our listeners did, the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and then Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, they addressed afterwards and literally blasted Trump and everything he said. Like all of his allegations, they just came back and were like, no, like absolutely not. Like, for instance, Trump said that, the number of arrests of illegal immigrants with criminal records was like 266,000 of last year, and they were like, fact check, absolutely not accurate. And it was like 55,000. And yeah, it's just so crazy. He said that more Americans die every year from drugs than were killed in the Vietnam War. And they came back and they were like, absolutely not. That's not true. And like, this is why. And they had all the numbers, and they literally fact checked every single thing he said and came right with a clap back. And it was absolutely amazing. So, I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of people give like Nancy Pelosi shit, but after like how well she came across with the points at the fact check or whatever they called it. It's literally cbsnews.com/fact check. You could check this all out. It was amazing. I think she'll get a lot more presidential support after this because she literally negated everything Trump said. It was amazing.
That I can't wait for the Donald Trump biopic or movie, because I hope someone makes it that's just gonna like make fun of it the whole time, because I feel like we're in a real Lifetime movie come to flesh. Like someone who's blatantly just not supposed to be president is president, and we're just living through all the tomfoolery of it. Like day by day, you just don't know what's gonna happen next. And we're only a couple years into this, people, so we got to strap in. Doubt he's gonna get impeached, so we're gonna have to deal with it. But I don't know. I feel like he just like cries like a little baby. It makes crazy decisions, and the Democrats just like, all right, do what you got to do, and let's see what happens.
So what do we do next? Like, if he's saying he needs $5 billion and we're only offering him $1 billion, like, what are they going to do? Is it going to continue to be shut down, or are we going to give in to him, or what's going to happen next?
I hope no one gives in, because we don't need to build a wall. Like, we need to be using that money for other things. There's so many other things we could be doing in the United States with that money. Like, I don't know, funding for people who actually need it, or building more housing, or fixing more rural, like urban neighborhoods. Like, we can use that money for so much more than actually building a wall. What's going to happen when you build a wall is these smart people who want to get United States, the drug dealers, they're just going to figure out another way to get there. As a matter of fact, they probably already have figured out another way in case that wall is built. Drug dealers, immigrants, people that need to get into the country, they're pretty smart, whether Donald Trump wants to think it or not. They're going to be 2 steps ahead of you. So by the time that wall is built, they've already figured out another way to get in the United States. So I think it's a waste of time. He won't figure that out. But right now, it's kind of funny just enjoying the show of the mess that he's created. So
enjoying the show? Is
we'll keep enjoying the show.
Is that how you describe it?
It's crazy. It's a comedy movie come to life. It is. It's like a comedy.
Yeah, I feel like it's an everlasting SNL skit.
That is so true. That is nuts. So we'll keep following the story, keep talking about it, because I'm sure we're far from over, and hopefully this government shutdown ends, but I don't think it's going to be ending anytime soon. Let's get into some everything Chicago. Got a little more to talk about in the city than last week because, boy, it was dry last week. But before we do that, this portion of Everything Chicago is sponsored by the Wrigley Report. Cubs fans, if you're looking for the latest Wrigley renovations, updates, team news, player analysis, and overall Cub news, look no further than the Wrigley Report, your source for all Chicago Cub news. You can find them on the social media sites at the Wrigley Report. That's at the Wrigley Report. Shout out to Jason. They always keep us up to date on what's going on in Wrigley. I know he had posted, the Wrigley Report had posted pretty recently about all the renovations that's going on, the expansions in the area. If you haven't been to that area lately, it's really come up over the past few years. They put a lot of money into that city and into the Wrigley area, obviously with the Chicago Cubs doing so well. So it'll be curious to see like what the neighborhood looks like in another 3 years from now. It already looks like very, very different. There's been like a Lucky Strike, a movie theater, like more condominiums over in that area. So Wrigley has looked a lot different in the past couple of years. So shout out to Wrigley Report. Can't wait for the Chicago Cubs season. And
obviously we kind of already talked about it. The heartbreaking Sunday playoff game where Cody Parkey missed the 43-yard field goal. Well, in support of the Bears and Cody Parkey, Goose Island Beer Company has announced a little competition. They're going to give away a free case of beer for a year to anybody who can make a 43-yard field goal kick. So yeah, if you think that it's that easy and you want to try, you can go to Goose Island. It's going down this Saturday on Fulton Street, 1800 Fulton Street, and they're building a goalposts and they're going to measure it out. I had to think like what that was called and measure it out. And the sign-ups start at noon. The kicking is going to go at 1. If nothing else, you can just go watch a bunch of people kick some field goals because I think that will be hilarious. And if you can do it, you get free beer for a year. So there's some rules. So you have to be like 21 or up. You have to be there in person, like whatever. But yeah, I think some people are going to make it and get some free beer. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
You going to try it out? I remember I was like 8th grade. I was like playing like football, and I couldn't kick a field goal to save my life. Like it maybe can go like 10 yards. So it's kicking a field goal, as easy as they make it look on TV, it is so hard. Like the punters in the NFL, they kick the ball so far and high. It is so hard to do that. It is hilarious. And I'm sure what's going to happen is going to be so many drunk people who are going to wake up Saturday morning, take some shots, drink some beers, and think, I'm going to try to get free beer. And I ain't going to come close.
It is far.
43 yards is far. Like I'd be surprised. It may be a couple people.
I think probably sure like 1 or 2 people will hear about the contest who actually like can kick and they'll show up and do it. I think that, yeah. I think somebody
like some former like soccer players.
I think I'm gonna go just to, like watch people kick because I could definitely enjoy a beer and just like watch it happen. I think it would be so funny. Yeah, just for kicking. I mean, it's no different than the people that go out in the middle of the football game and play the dumb games or whatever and try to win a Southwest gift card. Like, it's no different than that. Yeah, except when you do that, you're doing it in front of like way more people than you are at this. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Cool. At least they're trying to flip it, the negative into a positive. My homie Tom Mays, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but like on one of like the big buildings in Chicago, they had like a little video of like of a ball going through a goalpost, of like hitting it.
Yeah.
Like a boink symbol popping up after. I still don't know if it's true.
It wasn't in Philly.
Was that accurate? I don't know.
Yeah, it was in Philly. Yeah, Philly trolled us like hard.
Oh, it was in Philly. Okay, I got you.
They trolled us freaking hard.
Good for them.
Yeah, agreed.
Good for them. They're the champs, so they can do it. But that's pretty nuts. So speaking of the Chicago Bears, you know, fans aren't happy. A lot of the defensive players for Chicago, they're not happy right now. The defensive coach, Vic Fangio, they lost him to the Broncos. He was announced just today as Denver's new head coach. So what does this mean for the Chicago Bears? Defense, I know we got Khalil Mack. They had a great defensive run. Amazing season. I think like 3 All-Pros from the defensive side of the ball. Is this going to change their defense?
Man, I think we are legitimately in trouble next year. Like, I think coming off of Sunday's game, people were still kind of like, oh, okay, they're next year. And everything I was reading was like, there's still a chance for next year and this, that, and the other. And like, I think after this, like, Chicago's really going to take it hard. Obviously, the fans are really, really upset. I mean, this is like a legendary like defense. I feel like, I mean, especially like for people who've been fans for years.
Right.
Like, I mean, we only allowed 17.7 points per game on average this year. That's the lowest total in the NFL. So it's no surprise that Denver was recruiting him because their defense can use some help. But, upon everything else, I just think we're in trouble next year. I think we're not going to see the same team at all. Like, I think that our shot of going far next year is just over now.
And unfortunately, I semi-agree with you. And like I said, the NFL, it's just so tough to make the same magic happen 2 years in a row, to think, oh, they're going to be good for the next 5 years. That just doesn't happen in the NFL outside of teams like New England Patriots or like the Pittsburgh Steelers or the best organizations in NFL history. Yeah, you can do that and have dynasties. Honestly, it just doesn't happen in the NFL. Like, honestly, it just really doesn't, whether you want to believe it or not. Losing a defensive coordinator, yes, you may have the same players, but a defensive coach, honestly, it has more effect on you than you really think. Like, the game plan scheme may just change. Your whole mental may just change. So I think they definitely missed an opportunity. It's definitely really going to hurt them. For the city of Chicago, I hope they bounce back. But to think, oh, they're going to win another 12 or 13 games next season, I'm doubting it. Hopefully they'll prove us wrong. But for now,
absolutely,
I'm a little concerned too going into next season.
All right, we got to talk about more R.Kelly stuff because this just came up today.
Again?
But apparently cops were knocking on R.Kelly's recording studio doors just last night. If you also didn't know, yesterday was R.Kelly's 56th. Kind of like why the docuseries came out at this time and why everything happened when it did. But it's woken up the eyes of people specifically here in Chicago, and they tried to raid the recording studio / sex den as one of the. But they went there and it was completely empty. So now we know that there are investigations going on R. Kelly and that he is, quote, on the run, according to the things that I've seen. He was seen in Chicago last week. So my question is, what do you think is going to happen next?
So I think deep down he's going to end up arrested. I think finally that we have these documentaries, series. I think they finally just have enough to officially put him in jail, put him under the jail. I know it took a long time for someone like Bill Cosby. It took years and years and years, and now he's in prison. I think the same is finally going to happen, R. Kelly. And the reason why he was threatening to sue anybody that got involved or this and that and the other, why he's been suing people his entire career or like paying people, hush money all these years, because he knew that one day his day was going to come. And I think in the documentary, he even said, or one of his brothers or managers, I forget who had said that, he came to him one time and said, if I don't stop this, I'm going to go to jail. I have a problem. So I think he knew. And he tried to brush it under the rug. But I think, and I'm glad it's finally going to happen. We mentioned earlier that I think he's finally going to end up in jail for this. So I think that's what's going to happen. I hope. Like, what other things could happen? He can't just sit scot-free for the rest of his life after this.
So where do you think he is?
Probably, what if he's in like, it's probably with Tupac and like
because they said he's not in Atlanta. Really. He's not at his house in Johns Creek, Atlanta. He's not in his studio here in Chicago. So they raided it. And honestly, like R. Kelly isn't really like on top anymore. Like more of his legacy is older. And I feel like of all the money we found out that he's been paying people out from under the table and like paying to cover up and this and the other, like his funds have to be low. Like it's not like he's the richest man in the world right now. So, like, where is he? You think he's on, like, a private island? You think he's, like, laying low somewhere?
Because he doesn't own all his music. So, I'm sure he's got a back catalog he's probably getting some money from. I know he had shows.
But all his shows have been canceled in the past, like, year and a half. Like, everyone's been canceling his shows.
Good. They should. And I was like, people who still want to go see him in concert, God. You're an idiot. But
anyway.
We'll save that for the end of the episode. But yeah, I don't know where he is, but his time's going to come.
Yeah, there's also an attorney here in Chicago that's calling for all victims to come forward. So seeing as we are in Chicago, if you or anybody you know was related to this case, tell them now is the time to help put this man behind bars.
And I follow a lot of people in Chicago on Twitter, and a lot of like older ladies now, or I guess in like their 30s or so, they were like, back then we used to always see R.Kelly at our high school, like back then.
It
So it
is
was
creepy,
weird.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
We don't have to go back into
that's where
it,
he used to get girls, was at Kenwood Academy. He'd get the girls in the gospel class. They had like a world-renowned gospel. Yeah,
class.
They did. They had like a world-renowned teacher.
That's
yeah,
nice.
and he would go in, and that was like his past teacher, and he would like mentor them and then have sex with them in the freaking classroom when school got out. I'm serious. You didn't see any of this? Oh.
No, I missed that part. I think I had enough of finding stuff, so I think I kind of stopped.
All right. What else is going on in Chicago?
Lastly, in Chicago, this is actually a cool story. So Navy Pier, obviously, it's the wintertime, a little cold in Chicago, so they're trying to bring the element of summer. So it will be summertime shy here very, very soon. So what they're doing in Chicago is that they're bringing the Beach Chicago to Navy Pier. So the Beach Chicago is going to be happening Saturday, January 19th at Navy Pier in their Aeon's Grand Ballroom. It's a free interactive public art installation opening. Basically, they're going to have like 1 million balls that they're going to be creating to like bring the elements of the beach right to Chicago. Just something new, just something different. I'm sure it's probably going to cost a lot for them to do, but obviously it's the wintertime. Might be hitting that middle of winter depression. It's not sunny out every day. It's a little bit cold. So it's the 18,000 square foot ballroom. They're going to have feature like lounge deck chairs, lifeguard chairs, umbrellas, inflatables, signage, and things like that. So basically going to bring the beach to life in Chicago. So if you're around on Saturday, January 19th, I think it's going to be from the January 19th through February 3rd. So if you're looking for something to do in the city, you want to bring the summer back to life in the city of Chicago, make sure you check it out. Navy Pier, it's going to be 1 million balls are going to be filling. So it should be a cool experience. Make sure you check it out, take pictures, tag us in it, and enjoy.
Yeah, it looks really cool. You can go look at like the pictures online, but it's like a big like ball pit at Chuck E. Cheese, but like people are on like their floaties, and like with this one guy's got like a scuba mask, and you can like swim through them. So and it's completely free. So I think it'd be really fun. And I know we're all missing summer.
And it's inside. And it's inside too. So we won't be freezing it and all that too. So awesome. Let's get in some quick hits. But before we do that, let's play
our quick hits is brought to you by Posh by Imani. That's a women's apparel boutique out of Houston. Really, really cool company that we interact with a lot on social media. Founded on faith, love, and the right to stand out. Serving all women one curve at a time, and they have a brand new location coming, but you can shop them online. That's imani.com, and also on their Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So shout out to them. We love them.
Absolutely. And since there's so much other things going on, we didn't get a chance to talk about the NFL. We didn't get a chance to, in terms of like other games, we didn't get a chance to talk about Clemson, Alabama, which we normally would have talked about. So let's talk quick hits. Are we shocked that Clemson not only beat, but they destroyed Alabama in the national title game? What are your quick thoughts on that game?
I was really surprised that they won. I thought it was going to be a normal Alabama, like behind in the beginning and then come back and win. But man, it was not a dramatic or fun game at all. Like the Tigers were winning the entire game, which was crazy to me because I thought we were going to at least see them come back. But no, like it was boring. It was not fun to watch at all. And Clemson totally took it. It was not even fun.
I know. I'm actually very surprised. I thought Clemson had a chance to win, but not to blow them out like that.
Yeah.
They seemed so confused in terms of Alabama and their offense. They really couldn't do anything. At the end of the game, they were trying to resort to like fake field goals that weren't even close to working. They just seemed outmatched. They seemed outclassed. And I guess it's the fourth time they played in 4 years. So in a back and forth matchup like that, where the talent level is just so close, Nick Saban just got out coached. So it's cool. I'm actually glad it's parity that Alabama doesn't win every single year.
Yeah,
Clemson has a dynasty of their own. Their coach is amazing. Like his end of the game speech, like I wanted to get back out there and play football just to play with him. He's just so calm. He's so confident. His like speeches are so motivating. And like the coaches for Clemson don't leave. Like all of Alabama's coaches, they go elsewhere, get a head coaching job, and go to the NFL. All the coaches at Clemson stay there. Probably just for him. So shout out Clemson. I thought it was dope. And we have a real rivalry in college football. It'll probably be the same two teams next season. They'll be back, but shout out Clemson. They deserve to win.
Absolutely. And I'll just say Trevor Lawrence deserved to win. I mean, we got a 19-year-old true freshman quarterback on Clemson that brought them to a championship. I mean, this is the first time that this has happened in like 30 years. So, I mean, he's a legend. There'll be a biopic about him one day. And,
Absolutely.
Congrats to the Tigers. It was not a good game, but it was a good game if you're a fan of them.
Absolutely.
All right. So moving on, we got to talk about it again. Kevin Hart sat down and talked with Ellen DeGeneres. So as you remember, not long ago, Kevin Hart was given the opportunity to host the Oscars. And this was something that was on his bucket list. He had said to Ellen, I guess, in the past that after Ellen hosted the Oscars, that this was something he wanted to do for his whole life. And it was like the pinnacle of success to him. And not even 24 hours after he was offered the gig, people went to Twitter and brought up old tweets of him making homophobic, slander basically on his Twitter. And then, the Oscars said back down or, apologize or back down. And so he did. And now Ellen pleaded with him and said, I really want you to host the Oscars. And this is why. He went to Ellen's show to state his case. Do you think he should go back and host the Oscars now?
So you probably think I would say no, but I'm going to take the opposite end and say yes. So I think there's been enough time that has passed to where I think he's been able to right the ship of the situation. He's making it. And I think the real reason he's doing this press run is because he has a movie coming out this weekend, which I actually kind of want to see because it's a different type of a role for Kevin Hart. It's not just the same comedy role that he always plays. So that's another story. We'll talk about that next week or whenever we watch the movie. But I think he said an apology enough. He's righted the ship. I think we can kind of move on from it. And I think he should do it for the fact that it's been a lifelong dream and goal of his to where he should still do it. They have not announced the host. It could be a way to fix the story, make it right for everyone. You said your apologies. Now we can move on. He can host. So overall, I think he should do it. And I think it's the right time to it. I'm glad that Ellen took his side. I've seen posts on social media, the LGBT community, coming at Ellen saying she shouldn't have done that. You know what? People make mistakes. It's been years ago. He said sorry, and let's move on.
Yeah, so I'm gonna flip to the PR side and say that at this point he shouldn't. So if you looked at the article, if you looked at the interview with him and Ellen, and he really just pleaded his case and talked about how important it was to him. But I'm gonna agree with Kevin Hart on this day and say that everything I saw, I never saw anybody circulating the apology. And I looked for it. And I didn't believe him at the beginning when he said, I apologize. And I didn't believe it because I didn't see any of the videos. I didn't see any of the tweets. I could not find the apologies anywhere. So it seemed like he was just lying. Oh yeah, I already apologized.
But he said he has. I mean, I agree with you, I couldn't find it either.
I feel what you're saying. He said that he had. And so I'm not going to lie. After we had talked about this the first time, I was like, man, that man a lie. He didn't apologize. I didn't see it anywhere. But when he actually said on here, on this interview with Ellen, he said the places that he apologized, the actual interview with Will Ferrell promoting Get Hard. And I went back and found the video and he did apologize. So I'm actually going to say the opposite. I'm going to say that I'm actually really amazed by him for standing his ground by this. He has just faced immense adversity. I mean, people who are coming for him, coming for his career, bringing up everything in the past. And he said, no, I apologize. This was a moment that was for me. Y'all took it away. And no, I'm done. And you know what? I don't even want to talk about it anymore because it's just this isn't everything going on in my life right now. And I'm actually going to take his side because I found the videos where he apologized. And I feel at this point, I really respect Ellen for being on the show and talking about it from this perspective. And I feel he really got to say his piece right now in an unbiased environment, not on his Instagram to his followers. And I feel he doesn't need to go back. He doesn't need it. He's made his point. And honestly, this was better for his career than the Oscars would have been this year. And the Oscars will have him back in a few years. And
he might even do it this year. Have they named another host yet?
No, they're still holding out for him apparently, but I hope he doesn't do it. I hope he doesn't do it. And he comes back in a couple of years and I could just see his career blowing up even more if he doesn't do it.
I hear that. You know, he has a podcast now too.
Oh, does he?
Oh my God, yeah. I think he had his first episode and he talked about man, who doesn't have a podcast in 2019?
Yeah, that's what I hear all podcasters say. I'm gonna go get on his podcast and tell him not to do the Oscars.
You do that.
I'm gonna be no, Kevin Hart booked me.
Speaking of booking and the Golden Globes, was there anything memorable about the Golden Globes this past weekend?
The super weird Black Panther joke.
Yeah, what was that about?
I don't even know that comedian's name, but he was like, oh, last time there was this much buzz around, or I saw a movie that, what did he even say? I can't even remember now, but it was like,
the I'm on a boat guy. Remember that video?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
it wasn't him that made the joke. It was somebody else, wasn't it?
Oh, I missed that part of the joke, but I figured it's probably part of his.
But yeah, he was like, last time I saw a movie about the Black Panthers that started in California, like I thought it was going to end really differently or something like that. And it got so weird and awkward. And
I didn't hear that.
I really didn't like that. I think the best part of the Golden Globes this year was the girl from Fiji that was like placed right by where all the people were taking pictures. And so she ended up like photobombing everyone's pictures. Did you see that?
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah, that was like the best part. And also like I feel like A Star Is Born got super snubbed. Like Lady Gaga should have absolutely won Best Actress instead of Glenn Close. Like that was really sad. But
yeah, I thought Donald Glover would have won too. I think he was for like Best Actor or Supporting Actor. I think it was. He didn't win. So
Black Panther and Star Is Born got snubbed. But did you even see Bohemian Rhapsody? Because I didn't.
No, I didn't. But apparently, that's the type of movie that would win a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure they're probably going to win a lot of Academy Awards this year, too. Just random weird movies that no one sees. Like, they always think is the greatest movie of all time. Yeah. I feel like that happens every single year.
Yeah.
I don't know. After the opening monologue, I get bored with those things. It's just a lot of clapping and people up there talking.
It's all about the fashion anyway. That's what everybody cares about. They don't even care about the movies. I don't care.
Exactly. Ooh, I'm ready for this next topic.
I know you are. So if you don't follow B.Hun on social media, you might not know.
I posted on our page too.
I know you did. You were very excited.
This show's awesome.
The USA is rebooting the former TV show. I wouldn't say it's a hit TV show, Temptation Island. So, what former reality dating show would you want to return? Well, are you going to watch this? Really?
Absolutely, 1,000%.
You're so good.
They even have. Why am I weird?
You're old. Like you don't need to be watching reality dating shows. Like, do you not
30s.
know that they're not real?
Being in your 30s is old, and you can watch. And actually, it's a real element, but like certain parts.
No.
They put you. So this is what happens on reality shows. Trust me, I know all about it.
Oh, okay.
So it's real, but they put you in situations because you know it's going to be a fucked up situation. So like they know. They know they're going to put you with your girlfriend and somebody that you like, and they're going to put you three in a room and just to see what happens. So like they stage the scene, but what comes of it is actually real, if that makes sense. It's been happening on a reality show for years. That's just what it is. But anyway, so Temptation Island, it was from like 2001, like 2003. I think it got like great ratings back in the day. Anyway, they're rebooting it on USA. It's like a couples, or like three different couples that are like kind of on the rocks. They're putting them in a house in Hawaii, obviously very romantic with like 24 singles. And then they have to like go on dates with all these people. Obviously, they're all going to cheat and hook up. And then at the end, they have to decide if they should still be together or not. It's a train wreck. It's amazing. It was a hit back then. But if you're going to bring back one reality show, you have to bring back that show MTV Next. Like the Next bus was awesome. Like just imagine if you got to date someone and they barely hop off the bus and you just yell Next at them and they have to go back on. That show was hilarious. It was awesome. I would bring back MTV Next. What would you bring back?
I'm gonna go with Parental Control.
Ooh,
that was my favorite one. To have to watch like the lame ass loser boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Watch their girlfriends go on dates with better guys in front of the girl's parents was hysterical. But I'm not gonna lie, all that stuff was totally staged. And if you think otherwise, then you're crazy.
Those shows were staged.
It's all staged.
It was
all
acting.
staged.
Remember like the Flavor of Love and like Rock of Love? Those were good. That was like true trash reality TV. That was like
trash,
at its finest.
Yeah, it was all trash.
That was awesome. Lastly, before we get to Clown of the Week, we didn't talk about the NFL playoffs coming up this weekend. So we have the divisional rounds. So we have the Patriots and the Chargers. We have the Saints, and I'm drawing a blank right now. Who else is playing? Dallas is playing the Rams. The Saints are playing the Eagles. In the other game, we have the Colts is playing who? I can't think. I'm drawing a blank right now. The Chiefs. Yes. Yeah. So all of those.
Yeah.
Give me your predictions on wax right now. Who's making the NFC and AFC championship game?
All right. I got Chiefs, Cowboys.
Ooh, you going Cowboys?
I am. Chargers. You already know, and Saints.
You're only doing that because you know I'm going to pick the Patriots. So
no, I'm not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
So I'm going
Chargers.
That's perfect because I think we're going different on every single one. So I'm going Indianapolis Colts because they're on fire. They're going to win. Okay. And the New England Patriots. And then in the NFC, I'm going Rams and Saints. So the only one it sounds like we agree on is the Saints. And I think because Saints at home is going to be tough for the Eagles to go in.
I think the Saints will beat the Eagle, but I have the largest deficit.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that's even a competition.
The Eagles winning that game, I think that's like their Super Bowl this year. And they won Super Bowl last year. It's tough to do it 2 years in a row. So I think they're going down. Cowboys and Rams, that's actually going to be a really good game.
It's going to be a really good game.
Because the Cowboys fans travel. It's probably like a home game for them. LA fans don't care about football like that. So it'll be dope. But I think the Rams will pull it out. And I got to go with Tom Brady. They can't lose right away to the Chargers.
Yeah.
But we'll see, though.
We'll see.
Awesome. Let's get to Clown of the Week and get up out of here. We'll let you go first this time.
Oh, okay.
You're welcome.
So I didn't say thank you, but
jerk. Awesome.
Well, yours, I feel like I should go first because I should go last because yours is serious. But all
right, I can go first. You want me to?
Yes, because mine is funny. Yours is serious.
My short and sweet. My Clown of the Week has to go to all those who still support R.Kelly after this. And I know there's people out there who still support him after this because his streaming numbers have gone up. His album sales have increased since. What the hell are you doing even listening to his music? I know people who won't name some of my best friends who I've been in like damn near arguments with. Nope. I'm not going to call them out because they need Jesus. They need some help. But they're going to listen to this. They know who they are. For the fact for you to say, and I've heard people say this, you have to separate the man from the music. What the hell are you talking about? So basically, in my mind, it's basically making me think that you think it's okay that he does this because he makes great music, or I don't care what he does in his personal life because he makes great music. That is absolutely stupid. That makes me think that you are okay with like people just getting abused, getting raped, getting sexually assaulted. Because why? Because it's not your life and it doesn't really matter. I think it's very unfortunate. I think sometimes when people want to ignore things, and that's why we ignored it for the past 25 years because it doesn't affect you. But I think now we're in an age where I'm glad that people are having these conversations, and it puts you in an awkward position. They may put you in a weird position to have to think about some of these things that are actually going on. So I'm sorry that your hero is going down. I know a lot of times in the Black community, we have a hard time realizing that when our heroes are actually predators or terrible people. I saw people, still supporting Bill Cosby through the whole situation. Now people are still supporting R. Kelly through the whole situation. But whenever, I don't want to pull the race card, but whenever it's a white guy that happens, they're like, get him out of here, tear him down. He's done. He's finished. So I get it. We protect our heroes a lot in the Black community, but I'm sorry. We're going to have this tough conversation. You guys are definitely getting the Clown of the Week. Your hero, R. Kelly, is done. We just got to do better in 2019. Can't support the fuckery. Can't support people who are doing bad things. And I'm glad R. Kelly is going down. In rant.
Cool. So I'd like to introduce you to a woman named Jacqueline Aids who lives in Arizona, and she met a man on a dating site called Luxy about 10 months ago. And this is a millionaire matchmaker dating site. So this is bougie and they paid for it. And then I guess the guy didn't want to date her anymore. And she continued to send 159,000 text messages to him over the course of 10 months, even threatened him. One of the texts said that she was going to make sushi out of his kidneys if he didn't text her back. And then this past month, there's video surveillance of her inside the guy's home. She broke in and they went on like 3 or 4 dates, according to this guy. And so she's a super stalker and she's my Clown of the Week. 159,000 texts over 10 months.
That has to be a record of most texts of all time. How is that even possible? Crazy. What is that per day? Like 100 per day? Actually, it's probably less. It's probably more than that.
I can't even do that math, but it's literally a lot, and I just don't know like how you could ever like somebody that much.
That's insane. People are nuts.
They're claiming that she's not guilty and like on account of mental illness, obviously.
Yeah, people are nuts.
But yeah, she's my clown of the week. She's crazy. Be careful when you Tinder, people.
That was a dope episode. I need to get up out of here. We needed to talk about that, but hopefully next episode we don't have to talk about such serious stuff. Like, we need some people to like do some funny things. We can like make fun of them next week or something like that. Because I don't want to talk about R.Kelly anymore. I don't want to talk about Donald Trump anymore. But I know we had to. But
yeah, Brian, do some funny things.
Yeah, exactly. There's one funny thing, but you can't talk about it. So that's.
All right, that was episode 73. Yes, it was dope. Thanks for listening.
Yes, I am out of here.
Don't forget to hit us up on social media at Alternative Facts Chicago on Facebook and Instagram, and AFAX Chicago on Twitter. And send us your questions, ideas, anything you have at alternativefactschicago@gmail.com.
You got it. We love you all. Thank you. That's episode 73. Bye.